Hello, hello. Hello, everyone. Time for day 47, almost at the halfway challenge of the 100 days of making comics. My name is Eric Hodson, and I am the artist and creator of the dreaded Dinosaur Man on Webtoons. You can check it out by going to webtoons.com. And today we are working on the second part of number 4, doing the rough, loose beginning stages of this one. I'm a little bit behind on the drawing. I did a lot of rendering and stuff yesterday, and we got all finished up with the previous part. So that's looking pretty good, and we'll be doing some lettering on that probably tomorrow. So I'm just working on sketching out what happens next. So I'm working on just kind of roughing in. We're going back to Spaz. He's been piloting the ship for, he took off on the racer. Matter of fact, if we were to let's take a look at the dreaded Dinosaur Man and get ourselves up to speed. So here's Dinosaur Man on Webtoon. You can check it out and subscribe. We got 48 subscribers. So we keep adding a few here and there. So in our last published episode, there was the accident, and Spaz takes off on the bike to save the day. Oops. OBS studio malfunction. Hey, I'm here now. Well, you haven't missed much. Just a whole bunch of narration for 2 minutes. So yeah, getting up to speed. And so he takes off on the bike. And there's a lot of stuff that goes down in between. So what we're doing now is I'm in Autodesk Sketchbook, which is where I do all my rough drawings and get all my pencils done, because it's just, for me, it's more comfortable, especially on my Surface Pro. This is the program that works the best. So, and the controls are fairly similar. So I've got him. He's going to be racing down the slope of the canyon that he's on. Nice little close-up shot right there. And coming towards the action that's going on there. And this is the one I'm working on now, where he's basically kind of like revving it back and coming to a screeching halt. The infamous forgot to hit the transition button on OBS Studio. Just kind of started without it. I believe they would call that user error. Alright, so at this point in the game, I am not looking for final drawings. I just want to get a good feel for what's going to be going on. Figuring out the action sequences. So he's going to be, he's piloting this. He's starting to stand up. This is where the nose cone of the ship is. There's his third arm. So kind of like this whole idea that he's been zooming in and now he's braking. So we'll have to have some dust kicked up. And there's the edge of the cliff. he's going to be seeing something that's kind of spooking him a little bit. All right. So let's kind of get our roof here. And there's that little flag. Here we're supposed to be kind of seeing the edge of the speeder, so his head would be somewhere around here. Flying in. And now I kind of want to launch him off of it. Hey, we got some questions. How do you deal with parallax when drawing digitally? I have a Dell Canvas 27 and it's still an issue. Do you think that will ever be rid of parallax in digital art? Well, it really hasn't been an issue for me. I mean, I'm not exactly sure what you mean by it. Because I really haven't noticed anything that's been kind of an issue in dealing with that. Do you mean like the idea that digital art looks digital? Is that what we're getting at? You have to destroy the yellow power battery to. I don't think it's the parallax that she's talking about. You mean like getting a sense of parallax from the monitor? Okay, because I'm thinking of the end product because I haven't really run into that. So, well, I just got adjusted to like the travel distance with the pen, and just adjusting to that. I've just got to. I think maybe at some point our devices are going to get to where we don't have any of that lag or travel distance. If that's really what you're kind of getting at. I don't know, in my days of game design, I always think of parallax as you've got the backgrounds moving in conjunction with wherever you're moving the ship. So you get that greater sense of depth in a video game from it. But I think maybe you might be getting at like just kind of like the lag, or it's not quite, perfectly lining up the pen to the cursor on the screen, what it's doing. Yeah, that's what I think I'm getting at. Separation from the art to the pen. It's always getting better and better. I don't know anything about the Dell Canvas product. I do know that it's worse on my Surface Pro, but I don't really notice it on the Wacom that I'm working on right now. I mean, I don't know if this will work. It's fairly responsive on my tablet here. I don't have a lot of travel distance going on. The lettering question. No, I do not freehand all of my lettering. I have a gazillion fonts, some of which are actual comic book fonts. And that's what I mainly use. Alright, so he's going to be springboarding. Probably leave one paw behind, and he's got tucked in here. Maybe his other paw would be here. Maybe something like that. Yeah, this whole definitely have him breaking the panel border. I might want to move. That would be the end of that one. Transition to the next one. So he's kind of powered down and he's jumping off. I'm not just doing this for the camera. This is kind of how I think in terms of trying to get the action sequences to look right. Did you design the logo for Dinosaur Man by hand or use a graphic design program? A little of both, actually. I started with a font that I liked that was kind of close to what I had in my mind. And using that as a basis, I kind of drew in the cracks and crevices and the, making it look rocky, because it wasn't a rocky font to begin with. And then I took it into Photoshop. Well, no, then I converted it into a vector image completely in Illustrator, and then I took that into Photoshop and did some extrusions and did multiple layers to kind of give it that 3D depth that it needs, and then finished it off from there. So it was a little bit of both. Oh, it's an interesting that I haven't addressed Webtoon not being available in all countries. As it is right now, I don't have it posted anywhere else, but I'd be curious to know what other, if any of the other services like Tapas or any of those others are available. I might start posting the finished strips to DeviantArt or something like that. But yeah, I'm not sure. If I posted it somewhere else, that might even be something that's not available too. I've been thinking about maybe doing a Facebook page or possibly a Tumblr. Yeah, that's unfortunate. Webtoon is a really good comic service, so hopefully it won't be blocked forever. All right, well, this pose is going to need some serious work. I gotta make sure I'm staying in the flow. I'm not trying to finish anything. I'm just trying to get an idea of what I want the action to be, because this is still a rough. So let's see, it's jumping out. Alright, so next sequence. Let's see, we're going down, down. Alright, so where is he jumping to? He's going to be jumping to that wreckage. So maybe we'll do something where he's sitting. So he's jumped from the glider, the bike, whatever we want to call it, and he's jumping to, you know, this is probably the driver's seat where it's upended on its end, where we left off from the last chapter. I'm forgetting his tail. So he'll be sitting like a cat, and in front of him is going to be a very angry Dinosaur Man. Have to work on the placements of what's going on here. Sorry for the coughing. It's allergy season here in the United States. That might work a little better. Make him smaller and lower this down. There we go. So yesterday we had a question of fan art, which is awesome, and I can't wait to see it. So I created a new Gmail account specifically for it. It's dreadeddinosaur@gmail.com. And I'm still thinking about whether I want to do a Facebook page, a Tumblr, because I definitely want to display it, put it up there for everyone to see. Yeah, so that's better. That way we've got a little bit more of him in the shot, and we're really getting an idea of scale, too, of Spaz being really small here. Sitting on this wreckage. It won't be free, but there is content other than Webtoon in the pipeline. I'm doing a comic book, an origin story of the major characters. And I'm putting together a team right now of writers and some artist buddies to help me put together. The first issue will essentially be 4 8 to 10 page stories dealing with the origin of Dinosaur Man, how he became what he is, doing Spaz's origin, to Lexus's origin, and a origin of the main bad guy, which is yet to be revealed in the comic. This content is exclusive to the book. It won't be on Webtoon. So it's kind of like a connect the dots type scenario where You'll get part of the storyline from the book. You get all the origin stuff. It'll be hinted to in the webtoon, and then the main webtoon story will have its own thread. And then for future issues, I'm hoping maybe to do a quarterly book, or at least a biannual book. You'll get stories of other characters inside of this universe, because I really want to blow this universe up and have all the side characters get to have their own little stories. How tall is Dinosaur Man? Yeah, he's a good, 7 feet, I think, when he's fully enraged. I'm, of course, taking liberties with some of my panels to make the action more overpowering, kind of like they do in Dragon Ball Z and, in anime in general. They'll change scales just to get the emphasis there on the action that's going on. But, he's a, your standard big, muscle-bound barbarian dude, probably close to 7 feet tall. His head is much larger than a normal human head, so that's going to give him that extra little bit of height. All right, that's looking good. So Spaz is jumping, he lands. See where he's landed. Alright, so then we've got another panel here where we're going to get kind of a moment. So we'll have Spaz like this. I mentioned the concept of greebles several episodes ago, where you have just anonymous tech panels. There's just to kind of give it evidence of there being some technology there, some mechanical parts. So that's where that's part of that machine has been stripped off. That's where he's sitting. The whole term for it came from Star Wars, where they create all the ships. If you look at the ships, you've got the large panel areas that are flat and kind of bland, but then you've got all these parts where it's just like pipes and tech and just little bits and pieces. That's what a greeble is. Oh, I'm sorry to hear that, man. Yeah, I remember that question yesterday about the artist stealing your comic. The only other option then is to just try to take legal action in your home country. Unfortunately, dealing with another country, I think there's probably not much more that you can do. It's terrible. It's a sad world that we live in. Somebody would do that. I don't know if the Chinese government has any sort of. I don't even think they would care. That just sucks. But I mean, I would steel yourself. I don't mean steel like S-T-E-A-L, but S-T-E-E-L. Harden yourself for your next project. Make sure that whatever artist you're working with turns in stuff to you to be the one who's posting it. And then just go to the forums and go to the community in general and just make it known that this is what's happened. Alright, so he's going to be there, and then we've got this big, mean face. Just I might even need to go more extreme than that. How long does it take you to lay out a page, and how long should it take an artist? I don't think there's any sort of specified length of time that you need to have. Obviously, if you've got a deadline in place, then your time for laying out your page is going to be determined by the deadline of getting it to its next destination. So, like if you work for DC or Marvel, you have tight deadlines working for larger comic book companies. So you might need to do all of your page layouts within, a couple hours or so. For me, these things are really rough. I was a little bit apprehensive about doing a layout live on camera, just because sometimes I'll spend a lot of time, because I'm my own deadline right now. And then, so I'm working against my own set deadlines, so I can take some time and rework things if necessary. But I really want to try to get these, if I get the panels roughed up the way that I want them, then it makes it easier for me to just keep refining it. Like with this part right here that I'm working on, and I really want him to be like really like just roaring and spitting out, and maybe we'll have an arm coming out, just to make it even more threatening for Spaz here. Maybe there'll be his big beefy arm coming out. Like that. So it's like, ah! You're wondering, oh crap, what's going to happen now? Has he completely lost his mind? Is it okay if my personal religious beliefs are reflected in my story and art? Absolutely, man. I mean, that is, or woman, whoever you are. This is what makes you you. As myself, I am a Christian and I am a libertarian, and my views, I'm not going to be preachy, absolutely, but I want to communicate me as a person. There's always going to be part of you as a person in the stuff that you're telling. I think for me right now with Dinosaur Man, there's this whole parallel between our animal nature and a human nature, a spiritual nature, a good nature versus an evil nature. Those types of battles that we all face. And Dinosaur Man's personified as him being a monster at times and not a monster at times. And he's continually fighting that. And in his pursuit of trying to define who he is, he finds all of these oppressed peoples who, are living under various circumstances, and they don't have any idea what freedom is, what liberty is, how to, be their own people and govern themselves, or, all of this stuff. And it's that unique mindset, that liberty mindset that I'm trying to bring to him. So he ends up freeing enslaved populations. Of course, himself, he's got a collar on for a reason. He's got these shackles on his wrists for a reason, and that's something that'll be told in other stories. But so that the freeing oppressed peoples really resonates strongly with him, with myself, having visited foreign countries and seeing how how good I have it here in the United States, and that wanting that for other people everywhere. So I think if, whatever your your values are, if you really believe in them, really hold them dear, absolutely let them reflect in your work. All right, so the fun thing with this one, and because I want to do, this gets into their relationship a little bit. Oh, I did that on 2 layers. So I want to grab this. I just want to use it for example so that I get things placed in the right spots because I'm doing a different scenario. So this is his third arm coming out, the one that's poking out of his suit from some sort of cosmic energy waves or whatever that he, as a cat person astronaut, encountered before his crash. Oops, origin story stuff. Spoilers. Yeah, this is something that I dealt with a few episodes ago. Most artists have a problem wanting to skip ahead to the fun parts of the comic. How do you deal with that? And what I try to do is I save them as a reward for the most part. Let me just bring up. I should show this off anyway because I finished this up. So here's the previous chapter. So I had several parts of this that were kind of a little more boring than others to draw wise. So I tried to do those first. And the thing I was looking forward to most, see, I got the motion blur on there for the bite scene. Like these were kind of the last ones I finished off coloring wise. But inking, I saved this bad boy for the very end. And that was my kind of payoff for getting through the rest of it, as I couldn't wait to start really working on this panel. And as you can see here, I kind of I did some more additions in Photoshop. I did this shadow of teeth, and then there's a little bit of a reflection that I copied over from another panel of his mouth being open. One of the advantages of drawing everything that's here being hidden by this character. So I hid his character in all of his layers. I grabbed this part and I put that as the reflection in his eyes. Other subtle changes, I went from a blue to a red just to kind of separate this out more. And because I thought it was just a little bit too dark, kind of fading together. And I brightened things up a bit here and there. And there's the finish of these 3 or 4 panels from yesterday. So that's my advice, is to just try to save something, especially if it's like a panel on a page. They're like, oh, I can't wait to draw this panel. Save that as your reward for getting through the rest of it. Do you think the machines that can draw any image from the internet are a danger to the artist? How do you think it will impact change of the industry? I'm not sure what machines you're talking about. I mean, certainly there's an issue with people who call themselves artists and all they do is copy Google images. So, I mean, there's people who set up at these shows and all they've done is they've taken a celebrity photo and run it through a Photoshop filter. So, I mean, that stuff is hurting our industry right now, definitely. But I think if there was any sort of automation involved in image creation, that it would look stale and kind of stagnant. So, advice for copy protection? Well, the cheapest and most efficient way is to bundle up your stuff and descriptions and images and mail that to yourself in a sealed envelope, because the U.S. Postal Service's stamp when they process mail counts as an official date and recognition of the time of the work being created. And the fact that you've mailed it to yourself puts your address on it. And it's all, you basically get a whole bunch of government support for free, or the cost of a stamp. So that's the cheapest thing to do. You can also register things with the Copyright Office for about 35 bucks. Publishing on the internet counts as you're establishing a copyright. Make sure your name's on everything. And those would be the first steps that I would do. The last step I would do would be to trademark something, because that's a more expensive process. But that's serious. That's something that could be looked at as well. It's also a lengthy process. Usually requires an attorney to do a search and interesting. So I was just sent this by my producer. Is this the machine that we're talking about here? Taking something from the internet and just going ahead and well, I mean, this is all stepper motors. It works like a 3D printer. But that had to get on the internet somehow. So somebody had to create it at some point. I think we're probably a little ways away from machines creating things completely on their own. So this is a scene that I've been looking forward to in a while. He's getting booped on the nose, and it's going to snap him out of his rage there. Hands are still going to be doing whatever they're doing here. I'm just basically getting an idea of where they're going to be, and we'll drop down this arm. So I don't need that anymore. So he's roaring and he gets booped on the nose. and he snaps out of his, I guess you could say, an anger trance of some sort. Mm-hmm. My brother says that I should grow up. I'm 23 and wish to draw. I'm not a writer, and I've had an issue with trying to find writers willing to let me draw their stories. How can I get my name out there? You can download whole scripts that are available for test pages off the internet. Just do a Google search for comic book scripts and start drawing from those and show that you can create the panel artwork, put that as your portfolio, and then start going to local conventions and showing your portfolio around, saying you're looking for work. And then the transition into the next question here. I asked $450 a page on Fiverr with inks. Yeah, people, no request. Should I lower rates? Our styles are very close. Fiverr is a place where people are paying $5. I've done business on there before a long time ago. I was just doing little sketch cards for charity. And then it turned into a whole other thing where people were getting like commercial art, wanting commercial art. And I saw I did some other rates and stuff. But it ended up being, I was doing too much work and it wasn't worth the time that I was spending versus the money I was getting. It just wasn't enough. So I quit doing that for the time being to work on other things. $450 a page, that is, that's like median, not Marvel or DC page rates, but probably closer to, maybe closer to Dynamite or a Dark Horse page rate. If your name doesn't carry that weight, that's probably a reason why. Plus also, I think the audience that's on Fiverr is not looking to spend that much. They're looking to spend a lot less. And I would price yourself out based on, like, for me personally, I price everything out on the hourly rate that I would want to get if this was an 8-hour common job to do this. That's kind of where I start my prices at. And as fame and fortune and time, you know, the more work you've got to do, the less time you have to take on other things. That raises the price of new things coming in, like commissions or whatnot. So, I mean, I would evaluate yourself as a person and then where you're at in the industry. And if you're still just beginning, yeah, definitely cut that down. There's a great Facebook group called Comic Book Artist Commissions. Comic Book Artist looking for commissions or something like that. Join that group, post your stuff, and then kind of price accordingly. All right, well, we are at the 45-minute mark, and I cannot let this go towards a full hour this time. I've got a lot of other things I need to do, and brain-wise, I'm not sure exactly how I want to end this next part of the strip, so I'm going to have to start going back into my notes and see, because this is where I had my build-up. He is wild and rampaging. Spaz boops him on the nose, and he snaps out of it. So I'm not sure exactly where I want to go with this for that, and I don't want to do a lot of thinking on screen. So this is a pretty good area to end this episode. So without further ado, I will throw up my little Ender page, which got my Patreon on there, my Twitter and Instagram. Currently, my handle is TMLB on there, and then Facebook, Eric Gods and Illustrations. Thank you guys for joining in. Thank you for everybody who's tuning in via Roku across the world. I appreciate the questions coming in. Thanks to my producer Varian, who is spearheading that with the Indie Volt Network. that's a really awesome thing, covering independent comics in a fun and cool way, and I appreciate being able to be a small part of that. So until tomorrow, you guys have a wonderful weekend, and keep drawing if you're drawing, keep reading if you're reading, and doing everything in between. Alright, I am out.